There's no seat for a regular person. I watched in dismay that the lips of my sister-in-law, who was wearing her wedding dress, contorted. However, her triumphant expression was distorted, and it was my sister-in-law who hit rock bottom. My name is Nora. I am a housewife, live in a suburban city, and I'm 33 years old. My husband is a doctor. His family has been doctors for generations, a typical elite. I am a so-called regular person, born and raised in a very ordinary house. My husband has an unpretentious personality, and we have similar hobbies. We've both been working even after we got married, and we are doing well together. However, on occasions when I get involved with my in-laws, such as weddings and funerals, they sometimes upset me. My sister is getting married. We got the invitation for the wedding. Oh, congratulations! Is her fiancé a doctor? Yeah, she has been saying that she was going to marry a doctor, hasn't she? But, what's wrong? Are there any problems? Actually, in fact, she is going to marry one of my husband's seniors at work, and he has heard bad rumors about him. He is famous for his womanizing, and I heard that it wasn't just one or two, that he made them cry. I even heard that he dated several women at the same time and such. I did warn my sister, but she wouldn't listen once she decides. She said that it's normal for a man who is good-looking and has a nice job to have one or two women in his past, but the thought of having a guy like that as a brother-in-law makes me nervous. I have met his sister a few times before, but she has a big ego and she looked down on me, so I actually didn't like her. Even at the first family gathering, Nora, which university did you go to? What does your father do for a living? She kept asking about me and my family like that, even though it was the first time we met. When I answered honestly, "Oh my God! You really are a regular person, aren't you? You are marrying into money because you are marrying my brother. You are lucky." She only asked about degrees and titles, and she had no interest in my personality or how we met. She thinks it's okay to look down on regular people. I honestly thought that we would not get along well, but it's not like I was going to live with her, so I thought I'd just put up with her during family gatherings. It's my sister-in-law's wedding, and I can't not attend. I'm sure that she'll brag about her impressive groom, and she will disrespect me again. Sigh, I'm depressed. On the day of her wedding. Huh? My seat is supposed to be at the relatives' table. My husband had to miss the ceremony due to an emergency at work that day, and I went to the ceremony by myself. My seat was supposed to be next to my husband, but his name was already removed, and I couldn't find my name anywhere around it. Excuse me, Martha. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to sit. Oh, I'm sorry, Nora. My husband and I have to go to greet the guests. There are a lot of people whom I work with. I'm really sorry for not being able to help you. My mother-in-law is also a doctor, and she was socializing with the guest whom she works with. She was flitting about, without even sitting down till the ceremony started. My parents-in-law, unlike my sister-in-law, are very friendly, and they are always caring to me, but since they seemed very busy that day, I couldn't hold them back any longer. What am I supposed to do? There is no seat for me, and I can't just sit anywhere. Should I get out of this ceremony hall for now? After hanging around outside the ceremony hall for a while, I took a peek into the bridal waiting room, and I found my sister-in-law there, in her wedding dress. She was in the middle of a final check of her dress and makeup, and her eyes met mine through the mirror. But she quickly looked away. "There is no seat for a regular person," I heard her mutter in a whisper. I could see her lips with heavy lipstick, contorting at an angle.
"What? Maybe you did that on purpose."
When I think back, my sister-in-law is a person who doesn't only look down on me, but also harasses me. When we gathered for our relative's memorial service after we got married, Nora is a graduate of the University of A, and her dad works at B Company. She is such a regular person. It's obvious that she wanted to marry into money. How can she show her face at an elite gathering like ours? She told all the relatives about my personal information, and she was bad-mouthing me as if she wanted me to hear it. My family is not what you would call an elite family, but we have all worked diligently, and we've been living as good citizens, so why should I be told that? My heart was filled with frustration. When I confided in my husband, she was the type of person who wanted to be pampered, but both of our parents were too busy to spend much time with her, so she became a bit of a spoiled brat. Let me apologize for her. I'm sorry. I couldn't say anything anymore. Then, my sister-in-law thought that I wouldn't talk back, and her offending behavior only escalated. At our wedding, she looked toward me and my relative's table throughout the ceremony, whispering to his cousins and laughing coldly. I'm sure that she is bad-mouthing me again, saying, when she is just a regular person. At the time of the group photo shoot of the families, people can tell that the groom's side and the bride's side are wearing something of a different class, she said and laughed. I felt so sorry when I saw the faces of my relatives scrunch up. I felt nauseous when I discovered that the thank you gift that we gave her had been thrown in the trash in the hotel where the ceremony hall was. When I went to greet my in-laws on New Year's Day, "I hope this suits your taste." "Oh, I know this pastry. This is often in the magazines. Nora chooses this kind of conservative pastry, and she is really a regular person, laugh. Oh my God. Don't be rude like that. You brought this for us, but she was so rude. I'm sorry, Nora. I'll cut it up and serve it to you now, and we'll eat it together." Ahaha, I was just joking. In our generation, this is so normal, right, Nora? Mom, you must be tired from work, so just sit down. Nora and I will serve the pastry and tea. When we went to the kitchen, my sister-in-law just sat on the stool, and she didn't do anything. Nora, hurry up. You are the daughter-in-law in this house, so you should work twice as hard as anyone else. Don't you think so? You have to learn how to do things in this house. Don't just be elated because you married into money and become useful. I usually work too. I heard a rumor that you were always looking at your phone at the end of the reception desk in your parents' hospital. You must have the time and the energy to spare, more than anybody else. I complained in my head, and I tried to prepare tea and the pastry in the kitchen, which I was not accustomed to. It's not there. The knife is here. Oh, don't use that plate. Oh my God, since you weren't raised properly, I have to tell you this much, so that you understand. It's a hassle at a time like this, when a regular person marries into an elite family, isn't it? I was just confused in a place where I didn't know where the things were, but she even said something how I was raised, and that made me angry. I wanted to talk back, but I didn't want to rock the boat, so I held back.
I'm sorry for taking so long. Nora is not familiar with this kind of manner, so it took us long. She doesn't know anything unless I tell her,
she said loudly, and she went back. I prepared everything in the end. She didn't seem to notice the bitter smiles on my parents-in-law's faces, the annoyed looks on my husband's face, and the suppressed anger on my face. All those bad memories of the past came back to me at once. When I think back, maybe I gave her a sense of leeway by letting it slide, without talking back or retorting, or maybe I made her want to make me more depressed.
Why would she harass me even on her happiest day? I don't care if karma gets her. Oh well, I don't have my seat, and there is nothing I can do about it. I should just go home. I don't even want to congratulate someone who bullies me anyway.
I was about to leave the hotel where the ceremony was held, feeling beyond angry and uncomfortable, but rather lucky not to have to see my sister-in-law's face anymore. The wedding was held at the most famous and traditional hotel in our region. It was the kind of place that my sister-in-law, who loves showing off, would choose. People often take commemorative photos near the entrance to that hotel, so it wasn't particularly unusual to see a woman in a wedding gown there, but the scene was a bit bizarre. I inadvertently stopped. Even if it was for the commemorative photos, there was no camera crew, and most importantly, there were no grooms, but many brides in their wedding gowns. What a surprise! There are 5 of them. Huh? What kind of situation is this? Are they streaming by any chance? I looked around, but I still couldn't see anything that looked like a camera. On top of that, the brides who take pictures here are usually all smiling, but the women in front of me now have expressions of uncontrolled rage. Isn't it about time the ceremony starts? What's with the everlasting love pledge? He said the same thing to all of us. I will never forgive that con man. Is he going to become happy by himself? You've got to be kidding me. Let's go. I'm getting excited to see his reaction. I watched in amazement as the 5 women, dressed in beautiful costumes and looking like demons, made their way to the ceremony hall. I became curious, so I surreptitiously followed them and headed back to the ceremony hall. It was on the long weekend, so there were several other weddings scheduled, in addition to my sister's-in-law's, but I had a hunch somehow that the women were headed for my sister-in-law's wedding. The line my husband said when he received the invitation to the ceremony came to mind.
He is famous for his womanizing, and I heard that it wasn't just 1 or 2, that he made them cry. I even heard that he dated several women at the same time and such.
Still, they wouldn't barge into my sister-in-law's wedding ceremony in that outfit, would they? As I watched, my heart pounding, the moment has finally come. Excuse me, ma'am. Please give me a moment. I'll have someone in charge check. Oh no, the 5 women in their wedding gowns opened the doors of the ceremony hall, overcoming the restraint of the venue staff, and it was the moment when the bride and groom were taking their vows in front of the pastor. The 5 women in their wedding gowns walked to the bride and groom in a single file. I was right. Their targets are my sister-in-law and her groom.
Ugh, why are you guys here?
The groom was shocked and flopped down.
What do you want? We are in the middle of the wedding ceremony. Why are you wearing that? The bride is me. Leave right now. Excuse me, please make them leave quickly.
My sister-in-law was half crazy, screaming hysterically, and the people in the hall began to buzz at once. This guy asked all of us to marry him. That's why we all came, in our wedding gowns. Excuse me. Could you talk outside the hall, please? We are here to talk to this man, not to you. We need the bride to know about this man well. The quiet ceremony turned into a shambles. I also wanted my father to know about him, too. My father is this man's boss. Maddie, why are you here, Madison? An elderly male guest, apparently the groom's boss, exclaims. Dad, this guy asked me to marry him, too. That's why I came here in a wedding gown. What? You explain it to me. His yell echoed throughout the ceremony hall. He told me that I was his true love, so we should continue seeing each other in secret, even after he gets married. How many women have you been dating with? You were going to have affairs, even after you get married? You said that your bride has a big ego, so even if she finds out about your affairs, she wouldn't ask for a divorce for her appearances, didn't you? The buzz in the hall grew louder and louder. The rumor that the groom is a womanizer is true, she bragged, that her husband was a popular guy, but this is not about being popular or not, is it? He must have been playing around hard to have 5 people come into your wedding. Why, you guys are insane. Have you no shame for doing this? I'm not as shameless as you are, as a person. You are the one who should be ashamed. I thought you were competent and promising, but I never knew that you were such a dishonest man. The bride couldn't have seen it coming? My sister-in-law has just suffered the worst public humiliation, and she became pale. She shook her face, which turned more white than the wedding dress. Side to side, pinched the hem of her dress, and ran down the aisle at the end of the hall. All eyes of the people in the ceremony hall focused on the groom, who was left behind, and still sitting down on his buttocks. My parents-in-law couldn't stand it anymore, and spoke up. You, explain it to me. There were this many women, whom you were dating other than our daughter. How could you do this to us? The bride who fled, the groom who can't stand up in shock, the angry shouts, and women in bridal gowns crowding. The ceremony turned into a shambles at once. I couldn't stand watching it, so I quietly left. Well, there was no seat for me anyway. When I left the hotel, my sister-in-law, in her wedding gown, was about to get in a taxi. Please start driving quickly. What? What about my groom? Don't ask me. Her hysterical shouts were echoing around us. A few days later, after the incident, I heard that her ex-groom got down on his knees and apologized to our parents and to his boss, but he wasn't forgiven. In the end, the marriage was canceled. Oh really? Your parents and his boss were really upset, but your sister and her ex-groom hadn't registered their marriage, had they? No, they hadn't, so they didn't have to go through the divorce process, but that incident happened when they were having such a big wedding ceremony. The damage must be so big, even for her. She was a sister-in-law who looked down on me, and I didn't like her, but now that I see her so miserable, I feel a little bit sorry for her. A few months after her wedding, my husband and I had a chance to see my parents-in-law, and they told me about what happened afterwards. I'm sorry about that day. We are embarrassed that you had to see that. She said that she didn't want to see anyone for a while, and she wanted to be alone, so she quit her job and went abroad. She did? What about that guy, her ex-groom?
He must be really uncomfortable at work.
Yes, he was messing around, with his boss's daughter too. I heard that he is working at a clinic, on a remote island somewhere. He must have learned his lesson about playing with women. By the way, Nora, I'm sorry. It took me so long to notice, but I don't think there was a seat with your name on it, on the day of the ceremony. I didn't see you after the ceremony started. And I thought you might have gone home in shock, because your name wasn't there. Well, yes, but please, don't worry about it. It could have been a mistake on the hall's part. I knew it, I'm really sorry. That girl can be mean, like that sometimes. Maybe we didn't take the time to care for her, and we didn't face her properly. Hopefully this will make her more mature. Really, that's so childish of her, to harass you like that. I can't believe that she did that to you, Nora. That's why she fell for a guy like that. She needs to be alone for a while, to cool off. The next time she harasses you in any way, I want you to tell me right away. We'll do the talking, and we'll make sure not to let her hurt your feelings. That's right. I'm ashamed that I didn't realize that I was letting my daughter-in-law have such a bad time. Please, don't worry about it. Oh yes, we have good news for you today. I told them that I am pregnant. The dark expressions on my parents-in-law's faces brightened up. It has been a few years since then, and we have 2 kids, and we've been living a busy but fulfilled life. I haven't seen my sister-in-law since then, and my parents-in-law haven't been in touch with her either, and nobody heard from her. We don't know where she is or what she is doing, but she is a person with a big ego, so she will probably never return to Canada again. Even if she comes back, she wouldn't be able to face anyone. Please take care of yourself, where I can't see. I murmured as I looked up at the sky.